Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Grizzly Kuma, and today we'll be taking a look at Brutal Legend. Brutal Legend is a game that's published by Double Fine, and it initially released in 2009 for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. The version that I played was on Steam, which was released in 2013, and it includes a couple extra things, but mostly just cosmetic. But Brutal Legend is an action adventure game with open world and driving and hack and slash gameplay, as well as rhythm and RTX. It's I'll say it's a mixed bag of different genres. But in this review, I'll basically be telling you if it worked or not, in my opinion. Now, before we get into the review, I'd like to give a little backstory on my experience with Brutal Legends. Now, I don't know how I missed this game when it first came out, because it really mixes a lot of elements of that I really enjoy. Like, I kind of got into heavy metal music from playing Guitar Hero. Like, and it's funny to say, like, me and my mom used to spend hours playing Guitar Hero, and that was like my first experience into heavy metal. And I also enjoyed playing like hack and slash games like God of War and other games like that. So looking at it, I'm like, this kind of was like the perfect mix of games for me, which is weird because I really kind of missed it when back then. Of course, in 2009, I was kind of young. I was younger, so it was. And I used to go to GameStop a lot, and basically, I'd be getting rushed by my parents to hurry up and pick something. So I guess I just overlooked it at that time, which I really regret after playing, because I really feel like spoiler alert, I enjoyed the game. But I feel like me playing it back then, I probably had a little bit more enjoyment because it was kind of like I was in the prime of my heavy metal and hack and slash phase of gaming. Now, with that being said, let's get into the first aspect of the review, which is the story. In the story, you play as a roadie named Eddie Riggs, which is voiced by the hilarious Jack Black. And you're a roadie who, if you don't know what a roadie is, basically the person that's kind of like the handyman for the band, like builds the sets, make sure all the instruments get tuned, and stuff like that. So basically, it started off with you at a performance, and you go on stage to help with the event that happens. I'm gonna try not to spoil too much for you. And basically, you have an unfortunate accident which leads to you waking up in a heavy metal meets Game of Thrones world. I guess the best way to put it is you wake up in the cover of a heavy metal album, if that makes sense. The story actually was a lot more deeper than I thought. I'm not saying it's the deepest storytelling in the game, like that's definitely not what they're going for, but it was more entertaining than I expected. The thing that really stood out was the voice acting and the humor. Tone of the game is just hilarious. Of course, I love Jack Black and his type of humor, so of course he was great as the lead character. But surprisingly, it was a lot of talented voice acting that went into this game. Like, one of my favorites besides Jack Black was Ozzy Osbourne, who plays basically the guy you go to get upgrades in the game, and he is really entertaining, along with the soundtrack of the game. The soundtrack in the game was amazing as well, which featured a lot of great songs. And I can see this is definitely one of those games that I can see people buying the soundtrack. But with that being said, the story is on the shorter side. Like, just me taking my time going through the game, I finished it in around 11 hours, which isn't a necessarily bad thing. Like, I don't mind games being shorter, especially older games. Like, it's not negative in my opinion. But I would say I would have preferred to have one more act in the game to kind of wrap things up, because this game has kind of like a 3-act structure. So to say, like, it's 3 bosses that you would defeat, that you have to fight and defeat. But besides the length, I overall think the story was great. The writing, the humor, it all landed. The voice acting talent came together. It just was a good mix. It was a nice 10 11 hours that I had. Moving on to the gameplay. And like I said in the beginning, the gameplay is a mixed bag. Some things I enjoyed, some things I didn't. One thing that I enjoyed that really surprised me, and I usually don't enjoy in games because a lot of games don't get it right, is the actual driving. You get a car early on in the game called the Deuce, and you can upgrade it with guns, armor, nitro boost, and I really enjoyed driving it. Like, that was some of the best parts of the game that I enjoyed, was just driving around it with Deuce. And the car really becomes like a character, because it's your main primary way of getting around the map. And the driving was really, of course it's arcadey, but in a good way. Like, it was really smooth, responsive, and I enjoyed that. Besides driving, I also enjoyed the solo system, which is the summoning system for the game, where you can use it to summon Deuce or perform powerful attacks. And doing this system is basically a rhythm game where you'll perform a guitar solo and you'll summon Deuce or perform a spell. That was a really surprising implement of that type of system to me. Like, this is a small part of the game initially, but the further you get on, the more spells you unlock and the more often you use them. And I really enjoyed that. It's something that is small but significant to give the game its own unique identity, I believe. Now moving on to where I believe are the two weaker sides of the game, and that's the RTS and the hack and slash parts of combat. And the hack and slash isn't bad. Like, it feels good. I feel like it takes a while for you to get to that point where your attacks feel satisfying. Like, you feel like you're killing the enemies in a satisfying amount of time. Like, I feel like definitely real early off in the game into the mid game, the enemies feel real squishy, and it takes a while for you to really kill them. Like, you have to do the same combo like 2 to 3 times to get a kill even for the weaker enemies. But towards the end of the game, it starts getting better the more combos you unlock. But the RTX section, now I'm not a big RTX gamer. Ever since I started my channel, I'm getting into it a little bit more, and because I'm just getting into, like, switching up different genres, trying to expand my game library. So I'm kind of newer to the RTX side of gaming, but I have played some, and I feel like the mechanics in this one could have used a little bit more work, because it's kind of like a bare bones system of RTX, which works in some instances. Like, some early battles you can just kind of run your way through it just by being like, go attack this, go here, go there. But in the later battles in the game, where it requires a little bit more strategy, it's kind of hard to get the amount of command that you would want. Like, you would want, like, so let's say you would want this group to go attack here and you want this group to go defend here. It becomes a little bit more hard, because it's really not a way to separate the commands while you're not necessarily right by your troops. To command certain units, you have to go up and walk up to them and tell them to go this way, then walk to the other ones and tell them to go that way. So that's kind of something that I feel like was lacking. One aspect of the RTX side of the game that I do enjoy is the unit variety. There's a lot of unique takes on basic RTS units mixed with like a rock band aspect. Like, it's a unit that are the roadies, which can go undetected by enemy terrorists, because, like, in real life, like, a roadie can go on stage and fix problems without being noticed. So that's how they incorporate that into the battle aspect, as well as the enemy unit varieties. Early on is kind of the same as yours, but as you get further on in the game and face different factions, each faction has its own unique take on the units, which can be enjoyable and helps the gameplay from getting stale. Moving on to the open world. Now, this game is an open world game. The map is a decent size compared to how long the game is. The map isn't too big or too small. I feel like it's the perfect size. And in the game, it's a couple of things you can do. You have your landmarks you can find, your shrines you can find, collectibles, and your side missions. Now, the side missions are, for the most part, fun to me. It was a couple that I feel like was kind of broken, per se. Like, it just didn't flow well. And that was the ambush mission, the ambush side missions, where you're supposed to, it's you and probably like 2 or 3 units, and you're supposed to basically ambush the enemy. But most of the time, it ended up just being you just getting attacked by them. And the way you succeed is by defeating the enemy. But for some reason, it felt like your units in this side mission are just so much weaker than they usually are. So a lot of times where you'll be fighting them and you'll be trying to, tell your units to go here, beat this unit, which in a regular RTX battle, your unit will wipe the floor with them. But in this side mission, your unit will be getting bodied. And since your victory is tied to whether they live or die, it was kind of frustrating because they would die so quick that I would just keep getting fails and fails and fails, to the point where it got to the point where I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna skip this. So for the most part, I skipped those side missions. But you do have other side missions, which is, you have one that you race the demon, those are really enjoyable, even though they kind of easy, because once you get in front of him, it's kind of like he don't never catch up. But besides that, you also have a side mission where you help one of your cannoneers basically learn how to aim, which you'll drive around and you'll tell them to aim at you, and that's basically, you'll try to line it up with the enemy so he'll get a direct hit. So those are fun distractions in the world. And it's I wouldn't say it's really not no overarching stories to the side. Like, you're not gonna find no engaging side missions like The Witcher 3 or anything like that. It's basically just kind of like distractions that help you get more currency, really. Now, speaking of currency, in the game, there's a currency where you basically get rock tributes, which is where the rock gods give you points based on your, like, different things you do in the game, whether it's finding a landmark, winning battles. And that's mostly what the side missions are there for, just a way for you to get a consistent stream of rock tributes. And now with rock tributes, you'll take them to the rock god, which is played by Ozzy Osbourne, which there you can upgrade your axe, change your outfits, and do different things like that. Which is that system I really enjoyed, because I feel like it's paced well. Like, you can't go there early on and just get overpowered. It's like you have to progress through the story and complete different objectives to unlock better upgrades before you can even battle. So I enjoyed that aspect of the game. Now, moving on to the graphics. Of course, this game coming out in 2009 is not the best looking game. Even with the re-release to PC, which makes it look a little bit better, it's still kind of showing his age in some aspects. Like, I didn't have any bad graphical performances on my PC. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, it kind of looked kind of janky in some aspects. Like, the character models and the face recognition kind of has its ups and downs. But overall, the game looks good for the time that it came out. And the art style that they have kind of helps with that, because with the models being kind of over exaggerated proportions, kind of help with that cartoony feeling, so it don't really make the graphics look that bad. Now for the sound in the game is, of course, amazing. Like I said earlier, the voice acting is amazing, the soundtrack is amazing, and I believe it's over 150 songs in the game, which is really crazy. Like, that is a ton of songs, and of course they're all rock songs, from heavy metal, punk rock, regular rock. It's like, it's a big array of music, and most of the songs are bangers. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they really are bangers. If you enjoy SmackDown vs. Raw soundtrack, early SmackDown vs. Raw soundtracks, Guitar Hero, you will enjoy this soundtrack. It's amazing. And finally, we have the fun factor. Now, even though it was some aspects of the gameplay which I didn't enjoy, all in all, the gameplay loop is a satisfying gameplay loop. Like, the process of building up your forces, recruiting different units, and going to the main boss, having an RTX battle, and sometimes ending with a one-on-one battle is a great and satisfying gameplay loop. Like, I was having fun, I was intrigued. I believe I beat the game in like 3 or 4 sittings, so it's definitely. But the thing that I feel like really makes the game as good as it is the writing and humor. Like, that's what definitely kept me entertained and pushed me to finish the game to completion. Pays well and keeps your attention. In closing, I really recommend this game. Like, it's a little bit older, and if you can get over that old jank, I feel like you will really enjoy it. It's really a kind of like a hidden gem, I would say, at least for me, since I completely missed it when it came out. So this has been another episode of Kuma's Cookie Jar. I'm Grizzly Kuma, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.